Welcome to another round of Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends. Probably salty takeaways for a different reason after the 4-1 win of Atlanta United over Chicago Fire. Jarrett there, Jon here, and I guess let's just go ahead and start from 30,000 feet. Jarrett, what'd you think?
I thought it was. It's simple. I said this. I used to say this about guys like Darlington Nagbe and now Mateus Susetu. Guys who when you do the simple thing, you don't think about it. The simple thing is simple until it's not done, and it becomes unsimple. The simple thing here was Atlanta United played a team that cannot score efficiently. It's very good defense, but cannot score efficiently, and is not playing well. They're missing two guys on defense, and they're coming to your house. You should have drummed them into the ground. And Atlanta United did that. Granted, they didn't necessarily do it in the way and with a sequence of events and the plot that you really want to ever see or want to deal with, but they still did their job by drumming Chicago into the ground. Ronaldo Cisneros had a lot of his hard work pay off. Guys stepped in when they had to and played really damn well. I was very impressed with a lot of guys. We'll get into it. Alex DeJohn, very impressive. The midfield pairing of Azetu and Franco Ibarra was just stupid good. But ultimately, the simple thing was you are a good team. I still believe that. And Chicago's got Salina's stupid good for 17 years old, especially. Chicago's got great defensive players. Shaqiri's a lot of fun. I don't know what they are right now, but all the circumstances were in your favor to do the job, and you went out and did it.
When was the last time that you saw a first half hat trick that took only 36 minutes? I know.
It's probably a Celtic game I watched against like Kilmarnock or something, man. It actually happened this year. It wasn't against Kilmarnock. It was Giacomakis, Greek striker for Celtic, did it this year. Who is the king of the one-touch goal? Like, if he takes more than one touch, I don't think it counts. But yeah, to your point, Jon, you don't see that very often. And Chicago just got somebody asked about it online and said they got pulled apart like a pack of Hawaiian rolls. And that defense would just get stretched and pulled apart, and Jason Shadows, and what you get is Ronaldo Cisneros doing a lot of really good work even off the ball. Who gets a hat trick, and he's clinical, and you get regression. Atlanta's created chances last week plus 2 weeks, 3 weeks, going back to even the game against Charlotte in Charlotte. And what you get is regression to the mean, which in this case was Atlanta putting away chances.
Goal in technically the second minute, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore. Goal in the 27th, unassisted, and then a goal in the 36th. Almada getting the assist on the third one. Luis Araujo getting the assist or the goal in the second minute. And I think that today, when you look at the starting 11, Luis Araujo getting the start. This was the Luis Araujo, the artist, the term that I like to use, the artist that was on full display with Luis this afternoon.
Yeah, and Luis is just ruthless going both directions too. Like, we know what he can do in the attack. His work defensively, getting back and defending, and even defending up the field and pressing, is so impressive to watch. And he was just great at everything he did. And I mean, it points to they didn't have this guy for a while, the first part of the season. And you wonder what might have been had he been there. And hopefully now he's able to stay healthy and keep contributing and be the guy that he showed you last year. And as he settles in, can be more.
Starting 11, we'll just go through the numbers courtesy of our friends at SofaScore and get into the specifics as we go. Bobby Shuttleworth, the net punch to 6.7. Andrew Gutman, a 6.5. Miles wore the captain's armband, had a 6.4. We'll get into Miles here in just a second with his exit in the 16th. Alan Franco, his partner at the back, with a 7.3. Brooks Lennon with a goal on the board was north of 8. Araujo had a 7.6, although that number was diminished with the yellow card that he picked up. Franco Ibarra in the middle had a 6.6. Mateus Susetu at a 7.3. Marcelino Moreno a 6.7. Thiago Almada a 7.6. And to no one's surprise, with a hattie, Ronaldo Cisneros, I think it's safe to say that he will make Jason's SofaScore Team of the Week in MLS, punching a 9.5, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore. Looking at the absolute statistics over the 90 minutes, not a surprise. Atlanta United had possession 61-39, 16 total shots to 14. Most of the 14 for Chicago came in the second half. Shots on target, 7 for Atlanta United, 2 for Chicago. You had 8 to 7, only 15 fouls called in the match. Passing, and Jarrett, I know that with the midfield duo of Ibarra and Hasetsu, 563 of 623 on the day for Atlanta United at a 90% clip, and for Chicago Fire, 316 of 379 at 83%. Long balls 23 to 19 for Chicago. Crosses 7 of 3 for Atlanta. Atlanta United 10 of 16 on your dribbles at 63%, 8 of 15 for Chicago. 22 clearances, 17 tackles to 14 and 12 respectively. But Jarrett, I think when you look at the 623 passes, and almost 1/3 of them are credited to Hasetsu and Ibarra, and they only have 7 incompletions the entire day. It speaks to the dominance that they had in the midfield.
It does. They were outstanding. Ibarra has just gotten better and better. I think he's still 20 years old, 21 years old. Just an insanely talented kid who's going to get better and better. And a real fun testament to what tournaments can give you, because the dude just balled out for Argentinos Junior in the Copa Diego Armando Maradona. And he comes in here, has the game that sticks out last year, of course, was the Seattle game where everyone talked about, like, he was just great in that midfield. He's just destroying ball winning chaos. He's more than that now. I think he's growing and evolving his game. And their pairing was really fun. And then you bring on a guy like Emerson Hyndman, who can come on late in the game as he's kind of working his way back to. We've talked about this before with injuries where he's coming off an ACL injury. It's not just the physical recovery, but the mental recovery, to be able to trust your knee and to be able to trust your body to do the things you want it to do. And I think that Emerson Hyndman is getting back to that, where he can trust himself to be able to do what he needs to do. Having those guys in front of him be able to do that, first of all, it's going to add great competition for all of them to compete for spots. But it takes the onus off. You don't have to wait and hope that Hyman's going to come back and be an impact guy. You're getting impacts without him. If he can jump in and be a part of that, even better.
Emerson Hyndman on the day in his 20-plus minutes, 23 minutes, punched a 6.7, 11 of 14 in his passes on 17 touches. And also, let's get into the bench, because that was part of the story today. Alex DeJohn coming in for Miles Robinson in the 18th minute, still waiting for the MRI, as you and I are talking, Gonzalo Pineda addressing that post-match on Miles Robinson. And when Miles was put on the stretcher, you know that first off, when you're on a stretcher, that's not good. And then when you put your jersey to shield your face, that's not good as well. So waiting for the MRI. So I guess twofold for the next topic. Miles leaving after 18 minutes, but then Alex DeJohn coming in, doing yeoman's work over the remainder of that match. 70-plus minutes put in, and he punches a 7.3 on the day.
Yeah, Alex DeJohn did what basically did, as I'm invaded by dogs next door, basically did what Dom Dwyer did in game 1. Comes into a situation where he's not expected to be in and just balls the hell out.
On the numbers, breaking down Alex DeJohn's day, 72 minutes on the board, and then you look at the rest of his day, 3 for 3 on his ground duels that were won, and then it was, I believe, 2 for 4 otherwise. So 5 of 7 on his duels on the day. And Alex DeJohn adding to all of this, north of 70 touches, and it was 1 of 5 on long balls. This is a number I did not know until I just popped it up here. 60 of 64 in his passing, 94% coming in the 16th minute. Strong work from Alex DeJohn, but we've come to expect that when he's been called upon here for Atlanta United.
Yeah, man. DeJohn's that guy. I think every team needs somebody like him, who's that veteran, who's going to bring you leadership off the field, who's been around the game, it's another veteran voice who has been through the league. He knows the rigors of it, and he knows how to deal with it. And what he can give you in those moments when you're called upon as a guy who can read the game, because the thing that impresses me most about him was how well he was reading the game. He's cutting passes out. He's not letting things get dangerous. Of course, there's moments in the second half where Chicago is pushing, but he did such a good job of keeping things from boiling over.
And in asking Andrew Gutman about Alex DeJohn coming in and how you integrate someone like that in, who's basically pressed into a situation, Gonzalo Pineda addresses it. He addressed it post-match where you're practicing as if you have to be ready in these situations, and all the guys do that. And so Alex DeJohn was ready to step in. And Andrew, when he was asked about, and I asked Andrew specifically, all right, so guy comes in Alex's case after 18 minutes, what is that transition like? How are you integrating him into getting him instantly comfortable, even though he knows that, you're practicing Monday through Friday, getting ready for Saturday. And Andrew basically said, it's like, all right, we wanted to get him some early touches, get him into the game, all of those kinds of things, just to make sure that he's as instantly comfortable as possible. And getting those early touches, obviously, is key. But, once again, looking at those numbers, strong numbers from him. He also had 6 clearances on the day, 2 tackles and a block. So a lot of stuff on the board coming from Alex DeJohn that were the positives, and that was the reason he was brought in here in the first place.
Yeah, you bring him in to be that depth guy. You're not expecting him to start a lot of games, and he does exactly what you needed him to do. And yeah, you getting touches, partnered with Alan Franco, who's really good on the day overall. You're in a tough situation. You're missing guys, and the guys who are out there are able to give you great minutes.
Yeah, looking at Alan Franco's numbers, just so we have them by comparison. 6 clearances for Alan Franco on the day. He also had a block. You also had 1 tackle and a last man tackle from Alan Franco on the day. 2 for 2 on ground duels. 1. And as a part of Alan Franco's numbers, 101 of 105 on the day on 118 touches for Alan Franco. So 105 passes on the day, 101 completions. So when you have Alex DeJohn at 94%, you have Alan Franco at 96%, combining their numbers, and it's staggering when you look at Ibarra and Hosechu, who had north of 200 pass attempts, and they only had 7 incompletions. Then you look at your center back pairing of Alex DeJohn. I'm taking his numbers because of the majority of the match that he played. 60 of 64. Alan Franco, 101 of 105. That's 161 of 169 on the day for your center backs. And obviously, Jarrett, yes, it goes back to the idea that this is a match that, because Chicago was shorthanded, because they were surrendering possession 2/3 of the way through pretty much in the first half, and then it was 61-39 by the end of it. But once again, the idea that all of these connections are continuing to be made, I think that it's, once again, a strong effort across the board, and the numbers at times are staggering when you break it down like this.
Yeah, they are. I don't know that it's a coincidence this is the first time you've been able to run the same starting 11 out there back-to-back weeks. That doesn't mean that every week is going to be great and perfect. You're going to lose games. You're going to have performances where you're disappointed. But having something resembling continuity, it's great in those situations. And it's great to have being able to not need a name card on your shirt when you're lining up next to somebody. It does help. And you got that today, and you're starting to get, you're attacking players in rhythm. I think you're starting to develop those relationships across the front, even with a Ronaldo Cisneros up there who's getting more and more minutes with these guys. You get more and more reps. You get more and more comfortable.
Looking at numbers, just continuing this 90 plus, the A and the A plus numbers that we're getting across the board. You look at somebody like a Marcelino Moreno, 32 touches on the day, 1 incompletion in 23 passes. 22 of 23 from Marcelino Moreno, 104 on ground duels, 1 on the day, 1 for 1 on his long balls. So you look at other numbers from Marcy, and you look, and Marcelino Moreno even had a tackle on the day. And so it's all of the collective that we're staring at here for Atlanta United. Let me ask you this, Gaga Slonina. I know that there is a lot of promise that is attached to Gabriel Slonina and the Chicago Fire, and he was kind of left back there to his own devices sometimes with this back four of Sekulic, Tehran, Omsberg, and Navarro because you didn't have Sihos because of the red card up against Red Bulls. I know I haven't had the chance really to see Gaga Slonina a whole lot, just in flashes here and there. And I know that there were chances where he was tested early, tested from distance, which created a lot of opportunities in rebounds for Atlanta United. And frankly, that four could have been a lot more because of the rebounds that were left out there.
Yeah, I mean, look, he did really well today. He was very impressive. It could have been worse, and that was the thing for me, man. I was like, I know Chicago's missing guys for injuries, or not injuries, but for suspensions. But still, man, they gave up 7 goals in all of league play coming into this game, and gave up 4 today, and could have given up 5 or 6. Today was a big goals day across the league. I mean, you have Montreal drops a 4-1 on Orlando, and that one probably should have been 6-1.
Yeah, that one was. I mean, that was a long day for Orlando up at Stade Saputo. And
Gillespie is getting put in a firing range.
You could tell after a couple of goals that were scored on the board against him, he was shooting laser beams at his back line.
Oh yeah, Joe Bendick used to do that. When Joe Bendick had that 2 years where he was great in Orlando, man, you could tell Joe Bendick wanted to fight people on his team. I know they got the win today, but Kalina's been doing the same thing in Charlotte. Kalina stands on his damn head sometimes. Some of the saves he makes. He's a fantastic goalkeeper. I don't know where Charlotte would be without him. I think he's one of the big, as much as it is Karol Swiderski coming in, Shinyasiki today, getting the goal coming off the bench. But aside from that, man, Kalina out there making saves left and right. It's been great for them. Seeing Gabriel today for the first time, the kid's really impressive. I know there were the rumors about him going to Europe.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense. 17 years old, but for God's sakes, please don't do this crap where a young American goalkeeper goes to Europe just to ride the pine.
Yeah.
Please, God, just don't. Dude, if that means you got to stay in MLS 2 more years, then do it.
Or the same for Matt Turner heading to Arsenal, even though that Aaron Ramsdale right now is top of the ladder for the Gunners.
Yeah.
All right. Before we go, and thanks to everybody who sent in some questions and some thoughts via Twitter at Soccer Down Here. And once again, remember, we've got we're going to be discussing this a whole lot more throughout the week on Monday, Tuesday, getting ready for Open Cup middle of the week, and then getting ready for New England coming up on Sunday. South Georgia United, Jason Heinley says it was an awesome game, similar to the ones we lost, but goals actually happened. So, of course, Jason says, we're going up.
I mean,
getting promoted.
It's a really lazy answer, I guess, to some. For me, man, it was, you created chances, and this time you put them away. Ronaldo Cisneros was ruthless in the way he put them away. Because we're probably having the same damn conversations we've had for the last 4 weeks. If you get in a situation where Ronaldo Cisneros is not putting those away, the first goal is absolutely gorgeous. That had to feel amazing for them.
Yeah.
Not just to score a goal, but to make it as damn beautiful.
Yes.
As it was.
And we actually, inside Mercedes Benz, we had that as our play to focus on in the first half. And it was all of the one touch passing. And then at the end of the progression, you got to see the eye contact from Luis Araujo at the last. Cisneros is looking over his right shoulder, and there's a defender that is kind of favoring Luis's right shoulder. So he's opened up Luis's left foot, and you see the eye contact between Luis. Luis kind of looks up, and Cisneros looks to his left. Perfectly weighted ball, great anticipation there, great rhythm with those two, and then Cisneros puts that first goal in the back of the net. But you even go back even further, and all of the different folks that touched the ball to create a very, very quick opportunity. That's the kind of stuff that you're definitely looking for from Atlanta United. Touch, tic-tac-toe, boom, 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 great vision, shot into the back of the net. But that's just
you get that. I mean, you get Cisneros being alert and recognizing Josetu, who puts a really good shot on goal. Gabby makes the save, and then Cisneros pounces on it, puts it away, and then the third one is a great through ball where you just basically cut Chicago in half. Like the last one I said it during the game. Like Brooks Lennon has never in his life scored a simple goal. Brooks Lennon always picks the path of most resistance when he scores goals. It's always very funny to me. But you went out there and you scored goals, and you needed that. And sometimes you just need to see the ball go in the back of the net. Now, the thing is, you have to roll that over into Wednesday night on short rest, a little bit more rest than Nashville will have, but you have to go into Nashville and you have to go win an Open Cup. I'm very interested to see how Nashville approaches this.
Mm-hmm.
This is their first foray into the Open Cup. How are they going to deal with it? We'll see. What else we got?
A couple of other folks, and most of them have to do with the injuries, specifically to Miles and to Caleb Wiley, who only got basically a cup of coffee before he was removed in favor of Ronald Hernandez for the final 10. Yeah. Specifically involving Caleb, I just want to check to make sure that I want to see how many minutes he had. So Caleb was in for the total of 14 minutes. Ankle injury.
Got kicked a bit on his too.
Yeah.
Nothing like I always feel like I have to clarify this shit. Just because someone gets kicked doesn't mean it's malicious.
Yeah.
I forget who made the tackle, and it was a brilliant tackle. Took the ball off Caleb and actually forced a throw in. But I think Caleb kind of went over the top of him and may have gotten his ankle rolled as the guy sliding past. Either got ankle rolled or got kicked or something. Nothing malicious about it. It happens. So I think Caleb picked up a knock more than anything in that one.
Yeah, and obviously with what had happened earlier in the match, you don't want to jeopardize anything. And you want to, because of Open Cup in the midweek and because of New England coming up next weekend, then, discretion being the better part of valor here. It's like, all right, look, let's just go ahead. I've got some subs. I'll bring in Hernandez. Ronald Hernandez gets a couple of minutes. He gets a handful of minutes to get into game readiness and game state and all those kinds of things. So just being very cautious, and Gonzalo Pineda talked about that post match as well. A couple of other things in concert with each other, and I'm going to combine some here. Sherbs and Danielle. Sherbs is saying that we could have, and this is with 3 salt emojis after this statement, we could have protected Anton Walks. And once again, we talked about this at the time with the expansion draft and then getting things selected.
You probably would have lost Brad Guzan.
Yeah.
I don't know that we know. I don't know that we knew what we know about a guy like Kalina in goal. Is right. What I mean by that. Like, you probably would have lost a guy like Brad. You'd have lost somebody probably. It's hindsight. Which you'd have been, up shit creek without a paddle if you're Atlanta United in that situation. Because what if you do that and Can still takes the gig in Cincinnati? By the way, Alec Can might get Wally pipped in Cincinnati, John.
Yeah, no kidding.
We need to talk about Calentano might take that starting shot from Can.
Yeah. And when that's, expectations are very, very high when you sign a deal like that. And instead of Alec Can being in net for the matchup at Allianz against Minnesota United, it was Celentano again, Roman Celentano, supplemental spot from Naperville, Illinois, and he has played the last 4, and he has been there.
It's ironic because Naperville is known for their youth football like a mother.
I know.
Dude, Naperville Patriots don't play. AYF? Mm-hmm. Dude, I covered AYF national championships one year in Kissimmee. Naperville had a team at every level for the national championships. They brought a team for every single level, and all those boys could hit.
And the thing about Celentano, get this. Celentano has given up as many goals in his 2 appearances in MLS Next Pro that were early in March and April than he has in his 5 starts since in Open Cup against Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and then the final in the last 4 matches against LAFC, where he gave up 2. He gave up 1 against Cincinnati, and now he's had 2 straight clean sheets in 4 days with the back-to-backer with Toronto and then against Minnesota. So save percentage, and you look at Celentano. And so Celentano, for those of you, I'd like to sit here and say that Ryan Walker has probably been far ahead of the curve when it comes to somebody like a Celentano for Cincinnati, as opposed to an Alec Cannon situations like this. But I don't know if Ryan Walker has even gone down the Celentano road. But keep an eye on Roman Celentano for FCC, because Alec Cannon might be sitting the bench for quite some time with a rather large contract. Danielle.
Alec Cam might be a dude that another team looks at too, depending on how that contract goes and when the window opens back up. If somebody needs another goalkeeper, he might be one that gets a look, because it was kind of up and down this year for him in Cincinnati. But he had a couple shooting gallery games, but he also had a couple games where he really showed that shot stopping ability that everyone here knows he had.
Danielle says the only salty thing about the match was Caleb's possible injury. Miles's injury is far worse than a bitter end. The rest was so sweet it gave me a cavity. No complaints.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a great performance, especially considering the fact you lose Miles. They look a little on their heels a bit after that, and they nutted up. They had to, because here's the thing, man. We talk about the idea of like, oh, you got to move past it. Here's the thing: no one feels sorry for you on the other side of that field. Chicago doesn't give a damn if Miles Robinson blew his Achilles out or damaged his Achilles or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Disclaimer: we don't have the medical information. Yeah, they're going to do an MRI. We don't have anything as of recording, which is the night of May 7th, which is late Saturday night. But we don't have that medical information yet. But guess what? I mean, yeah, Chicago players are going to feel bad for him because he's a fellow athlete, and they play in a league with him. Some of them might know him personally. They're going to feel bad for him. Nobody feeling bad for Atlanta United for 90 minutes. They're trying to punish that. Like, oh, Miles Robinson's out. Oh, it's time to feast, or at least try to feast. Nobody felt bad. Chicago's not going to feel bad. Nashville sure as hell ain't going to feel bad for you next week. So you got to nut up and move on. And they did. I wanted them to get to halftime at 1-1 and just reassess it. They went out and scored 2 more goals and killed the thing off. Bravo.
Mm-hmm. Then Emilio and Michael had having a bit of a conversation involving Michael's point about injuries, and it's Michael's large discussion here. He says, at some point, some serious questions must be asked. Why so many serious injuries? He's not being trite. He says, is it the training regimen, the staff, players, turf, meals, DNA? Are all these injuries just coincidental? Michael, I would look at it this way. Anyone who is discussing the training staff at that point should be just taken away and put to the side completely and totally. What you have are finely tuned athletes whose muscles are far more taut and far more advanced than any of us normal mortal human beings. And injuries happen. I mean, we can go back to, how many injuries have Atlanta United had this year, Jarrett? I mean, it's Joseph, it's Aruju.
A lot. Reeve. It's the Texas dollar sign.
Yeah.
Dollar sign Texas.
It's been a boatload of injuries. And yes, I know that everyone is trying to come up with some kind of common theme involving all of the injuries with Atlanta United and then the succession of them. I literally would just posit that once again, you are discussing athletes who are at the top of their game physically, and they are operating that engine at 100%. They are redlining each and every time out. They're trying to give you 100% each and every time. And you make a step wrong, you take a stride wrong, you sit there and something happens that is in the smallest possible way, something that the body is going to sit there and go, okay, we're at 100% effectiveness here, and then you have a moment, and that's what we've had. But disappointingly, it has been a lot of moments with 3 injuries this year when it comes to Atlanta United. So it is not something that should be looked at when it comes to a training staff or anything like that. So I know that we all kind of want to sit there and come up with some kind of a human answer that's attached to injury. But when you have athletes performing the ways that they are, injuries happen. Unfortunately, yes, it has happened in chunks and blocks and to the number that it has happened to a team that we all pay attention to. So just anyone who tries to attach this to a training staff, that to me is something that needs to be absolutely put to the side and not even considered as a part of this discussion.
If it's muscle injuries and you want to have that conversation, that's one thing. Ligaments, tendons, like somebody blows an ACL, someone blows an Achilles.
I mean, Gonzalez.
And look, those ligaments are
Ozzy
time bombs.
The wrong step.
Yeah, ligaments are time bombs. A lot of times, like guys can have no problem with them at all. Guys can have bad problems. Joseph blew his knee out on grass. Guys have done it on turf. I believe Castanera did it at the training ground, I believe, which is grass.
I think that's accurate, but once again, you don't. I mean, you assume that it was on the grass fields up high, but we don't know that. We can figure that it was done on the grass surface up top. Yes.
Yeah. But for me, ligaments and tendons. That's when you blow out a knee or you blow out an Achilles. It's tough luck. It's horrible luck, and it's worse for luck for the players because it's hard to come back from.
Yeah.
Miles will hopefully have a better recovery and an easier recovery than a guy like Guzan does because Guzan's older. It's tough to come back from. But yeah, if you want to have those conversations about like the muscle injuries, that sort of thing, you can talk about that with training staff. You're having that conversation in DC right now with Hernan Losada after he's left with the number of guys who are banged up. But yeah, man, like when you get into ligaments and stuff like that, no, for me that's more of the body's weird. Ligaments are weird. Sometimes they go, sometimes they don't. I mean, look, Mike Soroka blew his Achilles out pitching, and then blew it out last year walking through the tunnel. The human body's weird. Does weird stuff.
And so, I mean, that's literally, and Emilio, in response to the conversation, says that he's glad Pineda gave the courtesy of a response saying things are always being looked at. To not be looking at it would be negligent. And, you're always looking at these kinds of things, but you have to sit there and take everything within a context and try to figure out what happened, put it in its context. And it has to be each individual case. You can't just sit there and lump everything together and go, okay, we have a collective injury issue. How do we chase after it? I think that every case has to be looked at individually. And I know that we all want to sit there and lump things together into some kind of a file folder and go, okay, all of these injuries, and then you put it on a piece of paper, you close the file folder, and then, you work at it from there. But I think that I think that everything has to be looked at within its own context, and then you take that information and apply it going forward. It's not something that can be just like a group idea that you can take and just have it readily locked into each and every single case, because each athlete is different, each injury is different, and each approach in trying to figure out how to address it is different. So that's just how I'm looking at it. And, we can always have the conversations. Anybody can reach out to me and we can talk about it each and every single time. Anything that goes on with Atlanta United, I'm more than happy to discuss things. That 200, how many characters is it, Jarrett? 280?
280.
280. 280 characters at a time per send. That's
it's like I said, I mean, you want to talk about like if guys are having muscle injuries, like they're pulling stuff in training. Yeah, absolutely up for that conversation. But yeah, when it comes down to ligaments, man, stuff's just weird. Weird stuff happens. It's just hard to predict, and it's harder to deal with. Now you want to talk about the turf? The turf conversation's a different one, and I know we're running over. I know we're about to wrap things up here. Also, because my phone's going to die in a minute. But the turf conversation's a different one, and I'm not geared for that conversation because I don't know enough about the stats and the physics of the turf. So I'd sit here right now and tell you I cannot responsibly have that conversation because I don't know enough about it.
Right.
So I will defer to others for it.
Yeah. So that is something that I am definitely not a horticulturist and do not have any kind of knowledge about turf versus grass or anything like that, and the different turf surfaces and the different grass surfaces and how they may apply and things like that. But no, this is the beginning of a very busy week for Atlanta United. It is 3 matches in 8 days. There are some great takeaways here. Beating a Chicago team that you should have beaten going in. Your unbeaten string at home is now 12. And obviously there's some stuff that's going to be looked at over the weekend, whether it's Sunday, Monday, looking at the injuries that were picked up by both Caleb Wiley and Miles Robinson. And obviously when we have more information on that, we will let you know. Pay attention to our social media channels on Twitter, at OSG Nelson, at Soccer Down Here, at Jarrett_Smith. Don't forget to download the SDH app available iOS and Android for all of the programming that we have coming across the board. And obviously, we'll discuss it on Monday at 9:05 as well. You've got Open Cup in midweek. And I know that, Jarrett, you mentioned it'll be interesting to see how Nashville addresses Open Cup, considering that they're at Geodis and they've got RSL. And you're looking at a team that is going to, I think they're going to get one less day of rest in turning this around. It's going to be 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon, East Coast time. And then they have one less day to get prepared for Open Cup against Atlanta United. Then Atlanta United turns around, comes back to Mercedes Benz to take on the New England Revolution, who had their own adventures against the Columbus Crew, Jarrett.
They did.
Yes.
Man, Bruce is going to fight somebody at some point. Bruce has got problems. Bruce got problems in his own house he's got to fix. So we'll see how they do that over the midweek as well.
Yep. And so that's Jarrett. I'm John. Thanks as always for hanging out with us for Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends. We're going to get ready for action on Sunday and action on Monday. Play it safe, everybody. Send us home, Jarrett.
Y'all take care. Be nice to each other.